So I was thinking about the UFC this morning. There's been quite a few great fights recently. And it gets me thinking about competition and how competition really does just drive everything forward a lot more. If you can compete, if you can stick with it. In the UFC, these fighters that want to stand up and be called the greatest, you get one person that steps in on short notice. Then you get another, and these times get shorter and shorter. Alex Pereira, I think he stepped in on 2 weeks' notice. But you look at the people who've done it before that, or recently, I guess, before that, is you got Volkanovski, who stepped in, I think, on 12 days' notice, ended up losing, but it amplifies the reward in terms of, I beat him on 12 days' notice. So now it's a check on the CV. I did this. It's another thing that elevates these fighters, but it's only happening because there's competition and there's value, and you see, well, this guy's done this. It puts the other people to shame when a fight gets cancelled and they don't fight someone else, or they don't have anyone else to fight. It unintentionally puts them to shame because they can do nothing about it. It's not necessarily always their choice, but it also shows who you are, which is interesting. But competition does just elevate you. I've also noticed that at work, because I worked for a few years on my own, in my own department, just on my own. I'm not alone, don't get me wrong. But there is no competition. And even now, there's not competition necessarily, but there's someone there. And for me, there's a little voice in the back of my head of, you know what I mean, keep on your toes a little bit. It also forces me to think about things, think about where to improve that maybe I wouldn't have thought in the past. When people are asking questions or you're seeing things happen and it changes. And I think this is why it's important of who you have around you in life. Because if you don't have the right people in life around you, it's all up to you to grow. This competition and these other influences in your life can really drive you without you even knowing. When I used to go to the gym when I was younger, and I used to go with a mate, you don't really have off days. And depending on the other person's personality, if they are also as driven, you definitely don't have bad days, because the only time you're going to have a bad day is when your bad days align. For me, in my head, because I'm like, well, they're performing, so I'm going to try and perform. And it's something I've always loved, competition. I am a competitive person, and I hate losing. And my hatred to lose makes me try and figure out how to improve. Even at anything, at card games. On holiday, we're playing card games, and I'm losing all the time. And I'm trying to think in my head of systems to put in place to try and improve this. Why are they winning and why am I losing? But with things on my own, there's not this drive. And I feel like, for me, I've always limited the capacity that I work at when it's just me and I haven't got anything else to look at. When I was younger, when I ran 100 meters, the 100 meter sprint, I was worse off if I ran and I was in front. But if there was someone in front of me and I was chasing, I ran faster because I had a bit of competition. And I wonder if this is what podcasts do for me, and so you follow certain people, you have role models and stuff like that, or people you listen to and people you like the ideas of. And I wonder if that's how the internet has propelled us, because we have more connectivity and we can see more competition and we can see what other people are doing and thinking. And I think sometimes the only issue is if you're not connected to it, if you're not connected to that person, you don't feel like it's a competition between you and them because they're not in person with you, then you probably don't get that increased progress. But for me, I do get motivation after hearing these people speak. That's what happens when you're surrounded by great people. Luckily, I'm surrounded by a lot of great people in my life that do push me by not even saying anything, by just the presence and just the thought of them. And luckily, I have that ability. I can think of them and they propel me forward. Their influence helps me be better. Listening to these people on podcasts and stuff like that, I'm imagining situations in my life when they're speaking. I'm trying to apply what they're saying to my life. And luckily we have this in our day, that we can use these voices to propel us if we can apply it correctly. Because I do a lot of things on my own. Yesterday I was in the gym on my own and I was starting this new sort of workout routine I've been thinking of. And you get to a point where you're struggling. Now I know for a fact that I can go further when someone else is there than if I'm on my own. And that's what David Goggins talks about. The real people can self-motivate. The real people the real savages don't have to have a person sat next to them that they've got to compete with. You're competing with yourself. Now don't get me wrong, I do alright for myself. But I just noticed that that's a tool for me, that if there's some competition, that it's going to be guaranteed improvement, which is interesting to me. And that's what I see in the UFC, and that's why I really like the UFC, because there's so much competition. You would think one star has peaked, and you think, who else is going to come in and beat them? And then, lo and behold, someone eventually always does. It interests me that happens. But yeah, peace.